The unpredictability of the National Football League continues in all of its splendor this offseason, as I've said many a times, the craziest we've ever seen in NFL history. This is beyond comprehension what just transpired with Tyreek Hill. I mean, what we've seen in the last week with Devontae Adams getting QB money at the receiver position and Tyreek Hill getting traded for count them, five draft selections is unprecedented. And the crazy part about it is, I don't know that I'm thrilled about this. Nothing will ever be the same. I'll explain. And for me, this is like Tuscan leather. I mean, this deal's smelling like a brick. And to me, Tyreek Hill is a degenerate, but even Ellen don't love this shit. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 248th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. As Vince Lombardi once elegantly said, and I quote, "What the hell is going on out there?" Don't ask me. I don't know. And I've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks. I don't ask me like you guys yesterday asked me, where is Baker Mayfield going to be traded? Where's Jimmy? I don't know. Don't ask me shit. I don't know nothing. Okay. It's like living in the hood and somebody got popped around the corner. Somebody got bust around the corner. Cops come knocking on the door. I don't know shit. Don't ask me nothing. I don't know nothing. All right. And then the cops like to look surprised when you don't want to help. It's like, look, I got to live here. I don't have any way out of this. I don't know what's going to happen. Don't ask me. Okay. I don't know. I don't know nothing. And it's amazing how we go from one big move to the next big move, to the next big move, to the next big move. And everything has a domino and ripple effect. That's the thing in the NFL that you have to understand, more so than any other sport, is that a big move has ripple effects that are felt throughout the league. You may not be able to see it right away, but those ripples are being felt. You may not see them, but they're being felt around the league. Anytime a big move happens, there is an equal, maybe opposite, or greater reaction to the move that was just made. And a domino falls, and another one is going to fall. And I'm gonna explain all of that. You know what? Let me say this right now. I don't know if I've ever said this to you guys before, but I'm gonna say this right now. I think the NFL is the only sport that penalizes you for drafting good players. I'll say that once more. I think the NFL is the only sport that penalizes you for drafting drafting elite players. Okay. Not good players. You don't get penalized for drafting good players. In the NFL, you are penalized for drafting too many elite players. And you have a small window of opportunity to maximize those elite players before you become penalized for it. I'll explain. Let's jump into the proceedings this evening because there's a lot to really peel back with the layers of this deal. Let's talk about how we got here first with the Tyreek Hill trade, and then we'll talk about the ramifications. There is a fallout, and to me, there is only one winner here, and it's not who you think. So, with that said, you know what we're about to do, man. Don't act brand new. You already know what we're about to do. Let's jump into this gem dropping session, shall we? Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. We're going to think today. I'm going to open you up. Okay? Don't front. You know I got you open. Now I'm going to drop a gem right in that melon of yours. Okay. So, how did we get to this point? Because for me, I never ever contemplated Tyreek Hill not being in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform. It just never dawned on me that this could actually come to fruition. I just assumed, like many of you out there, and I can't speak for everyone, but I just assumed that when Tyreek Hill's contract was up, he would sign a massive deal to remain in Kansas City. They would keep the band together, him, Kelsey, and Mahomes, and those three would play together for at least 7 to 10 years. And then we'd look back and say, wow, that was one of the greatest runs in NFL history with the trio. We always talk about the trios, and usually if it's a group of triplets, rarely does it involve a tight end. The first original triplets was Dallas and Emmett, Michael, and Troy. And then it kind of merged it evolved into Peyton Manning. It turned into Peyton Manning. Why am I blanking on his damn name? Edgerrin James and Marvin Harrison. And then that kind of just transitioned into remove Edgerrin James, insert Reggie Wayne, right? This was the new coronation of the, triplets, so to speak. These three in Kansas City, they were the foundational pieces of any success that the Chiefs would have. And and I've said this many a times, as long as Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes are healthy, they've got a chance, because you can't stop all three of those guys. You can only hope to contain them. You may be able to take one away. You can't take both away. And if you do take both away, somebody else is screaming wide open now. That was the problem over the last 2 years, is that guy that was wide ass open wasn't, Samuel Watkins. It was, Pringle, or it was Demarcus Robinson, and nobody's afraid of those guys. They needed another elite player, or at least another above average player, to fill that void, so that when you try to take away Kelsey, when you try to double Tyreek Hill, now there's the third option, and you can't account for that. That guy's winning a one-on-one matchup, or he's running wide open through your zone, and he's going to torch you. And that's where Juju Smith-Schuster was going to come in to play this year. He was going to be the perfect piece to that puzzle to complete it and put the Chiefs back where they needed to be. Well, now all of that is gone by the wayside. And Tyreek Hill, let me first start by saying this. I want to start by saying this. The NFL is the only sport that punishes teams for drafting elite players. Multiple elite players at once. So if you come away in a draft of 9 players, you come away with 3 elite players out of that draft class, you're going to be penalized, especially if one of those players is a quarterback, or there's already an elite quarterback that's being paid top-notch quarterback money already on the roster. You are going to be penalized for that. And if the next year you draft really well, and say you have 8 draft picks and 2 of those guys are elite, now that's 5 elite players in a span of 2 years. You're not going to be able to pay all of those players, especially if one is a quarterback, or a quarterback is already under contract making massive money. Not to mention that you may already have a player or 2 making good money alongside that quarterback. You're going to be made to suffer because of it. Look at the New Orleans Saints. We praise them for that legendary draft they had back in 2017 with Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk and Marcus Williams and, all those guys, Alex Anzalone, all those guys that they drafted in that one draft class that turned out to be phenomenal football players. And there probably were and Alvin Kamara was in that draft as well. It was a ridiculous draft class in 2017. Look how they had to suffer because of that draft class. They couldn't pay everybody. And then when they did pay everybody, look at what happened to the Saints cap situation. Keep in mind that they're struggling with the cap, and this is without a massive quarterback contract the Saints are dealing with. They're struggling because they had to re-sign Marshawn Lattimore. They had to re-sign Ryan Ramczyk. They tried to keep Marcus Williams. They had to franchise tag him. They couldn't afford to keep him. So he ended up walking and getting a brand new deal this offseason with the Ravens. They had to pay Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas is stealing money at this point. They had to hold on to him as well. And so now you look up at the Saints and they're struggling. The Chiefs hit it big with Mahomes in 17. The Chiefs knocked it out of the park with Tyreek Hill. I want to say that was in 18. The Chiefs killed it with Travis Kelce. That's probably back in 2014. And so you look at those trio of guys, and all of them need their bread, and they're all looking for top of the market money at their respective positions. And rightfully so. They're the best in the business at what they do at their respective positions. There's an argument to be made about Tyreek Hill. There's no argument to be made that he's one of the best receivers in football, one of the top 3 in football. You don't have to necessarily put him at the top of the NFL wide receiver pantheon. That's fine, but he's top 3. He's somewhere in that mix. May not be your flavor, your cup of tea, but there isn't another guy in the league like Tyreek Hill. You can't find a clone or you can't find a comparison. There's nothing in the league like him. Trust me, the Chiefs tried when they drafted Mecole Hardman. That didn't go the way that they thought. He was supposed to be their insurance policy just in case of the event that something like this, where Tyreek Hill got greedy, or Tyreek Hill was suspended by the league because he couldn't behave himself off the field, which almost happened 3 years ago. Remember, this is the same guy that came into the league with baggage. So they tried to prepare themselves for this very moment. It didn't go well because there isn't another guy that can do the things that Tyreek Hill can do. He's a unicorn. And the Chiefs, and let me explain why in no other sport are you penalized. Not at least the team. Maybe ownership is penalized, but they've got to be willing to take on the risk of being great. Some teams are, some ownerships are, some aren't. And that's fine. That's your choice as an owner. In Major League Baseball, there is no salary cap. If you got it, you can spend it, which is why the Yankees and the Red Sox and the haves have always had talent, and the have-nots have had to find ways creatively to acquire talent, whether trading or in their farm system. But if you got bread, you can spend it. So the Dodgers are always going to be good. Their pockets are deep. The Yankees are always going to be good. The Red Sox are always going to be good if guys perform at the level that they're paying them to and they stay healthy because their pockets are deep. So you're not penalized for having a ton of talent. You can go out and get as much of it as you want. Your farm system might not be great. Maybe you've given away too many assets to acquire talent, but you're not penalized for having 4 of the best 20 players in all of Major League Baseball on your team. You're not penalized for that. If you got it, you can spend it. In basketball, there is no hard cap. There is a salary cap, but it's not a hard, firm cap like the NFL. Meaning that if you pass that threshold of the salary cap, that owner is then forced to pay a luxury tax. For every some odd dollars that he goes over, you pay a penalty. If you're the Golden State Warriors and you're vying for an NBA championship every single year, do you care that you're going to have to pay a luxury tax when you're selling out every single game? You're going to make some extra revenue for playoff games, and it's going to be a deep playoff run. You don't care that you're signing Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green. You don't care that you are paying all of this money because you're making it back in revenue and you're winning championships. No owner in the NBA wants to go over and pay that luxury tax. Trust me, they don't, okay? And there are only a select few that are actually truly making great money off of their NBA franchises. That said, If you're not going over the luxury tax, then you're making money. If you're selling out games during the regular season and your team makes it to the postseason, you're making some good money. But if you're not, and you go over that luxury tax, then it's not worth it. But you can go over it. You can go out and spend that money. Another reason why you can put together super teams in the NBA is because guys realize I may have to take slightly less than what I could get. May have to take slightly less. Not everybody does this. Not everybody subscribes to this. But I may have to take slightly less in order to make this thing work, to put together the kind of team that I want to put together. You know why guys in the NBA are willing to do that and can do that? They're making money hand over fist off the court. Kevin Durant wipes his ass with his NBA contract money. Okay? That contract is nothing compared to the contract he signed with Nike to produce KDs. Okay? That's the money that Steph Curry is getting from Under Armour and Got Milk commercials and every other commercial that you see him in. He's making money hand over fist off the court. He can take less in his NBA contract because he's making so much money off the court. Not saying that they want to take less, right? Because there's still an ego factor involved. Like, you don't want to look up and see some Joe Schmo making, $20 more million than you, and you're like, come on now. I'm one of the top 5 players in the league, if not the best player in the league, and this guy who isn't even in the top 25 is making $20 million more than me. What the hell is up with that? At some point, that eats at you. But you can afford to do that if you want, because you're making so much money off the court. You can get to the NFL. Not only is it a hard cap, but there's only a select few of players making, and remember, NBA and Major League Baseball contracts are fully guaranteed. Once they sign on the dotted line, they get every single penny, nickel, and dime of their money. That is not the case in the NFL, and there's a hard cap. And so these players have to get as much of it as they can get while it's there to be got. Because at any moment, your ass can be cut without any penalty to the team. A lot of times, the cap, the dead cap. Which teams are showing you they don't give a shit about dead cap hits. The Falcons just traded Matt Ryan and took a $40 million cap hit. Last offseason, the Philadelphia Eagles traded Carson Wentz and took a $33 million cap hit. 3 years ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers gave away Antonio Brown for a cold, hot ham and cheese sandwich, a half-eaten bag of chips, and a juice box without a straw, and took a $20-some-odd million cap hit. Dead cap hit. These teams don't give a shit about that. Just to get rid of a guy. Just to move on from a guy. In the NFL, there only are a select few that are eaten. Everybody in the NBA, for the most part, if you've signed a contract, a good one, Jan Mahimi is eating good, folks. Okay? Jan Mahimi is eating good in the NBA. Okay? And there are a lot of guys like him making some quality bread, being role players off the bench. Royce O'Neal is making a nice piece of change, being a 3-and-D guy. There are plenty of guys in the league just like him, totally satisfied with making their $18 to $24 to $30 million. If you're a role player in the NFL, you ain't making that kind of bread. Sorry, not sorry. So there are only a select few of guys that are making the kind of money off the field that allows you to take less. Most of those guys are quarterbacks, by the way. It ain't too many running backs you see on commercials killing it. Dalvin Cook isn't out here, pawning off Oreos, okay? Aaron Jones isn't out here telling you to drink chocolate milk like Klay Thompson is, okay? Only quarterbacks are out here eating. Only quarterbacks are out here eating off the field. The Dak Prescotts, the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, those Russell Wilson, those boys are eating and eating damn good off the field. So they can afford to take less, which is what Brady did for years in New England, which is what Patrick Mahomes just did in order to make sure that they could keep this group together. He took less. Yeah, he signed a $500 million contract. Trust me when I tell you, ask any agent, they will tell you Patrick Mahomes severely undersold himself with the contract that he signed. Because that contract does not age well for Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't care. You know why? Because he's got a State Farm commercial. Because he's got a Bose commercial. Beats by Dre. Everywhere you look, there's a new Patrick Mahomes commercial. He's killing it off the field. He doesn't need to take the most money available. And he did that intentionally so he could make sure, just like Derek Carr did with the Raiders once upon a time, took less than he had to make sure that they had enough money to sign Khalil Mack. And what did the Raiders do? They still butchered it. He took less to make sure that they would be able to re-sign Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And the Chiefs aren't wrong here. They didn't butcher this like the Raiders did once upon a time. This is the penalty in the NFL for having elite talent. You don't get rewarded for having elite players on your football team. There's a small window of opportunity depending on when that player that's elite was drafted. It's 5 years. If that player is drafted in the first round, it's 4 years. If that player was drafted in any other round but the first. And honestly speaking, if that player is elite, after 3 years, if you're a non-first round pick, you want your money and you want it now. After 4 years or after 3 years, if you're an elite player in the first round, you want your money and you want it now. Look at Kyler Murray. He's already bitching about his money. And the Cardinals are like, bro, we still got 2 years on this rookie deal. And you haven't won a playoff game. Relax. You're going to get your money. Relax. He's like, no, I want it now. So that window of opportunity is very short. Because you can't sign everybody. You get penalized. And if you try to sign everybody, it's going to come at the expense of 5 or 6 or 7 quality players on your roster that you're going to have to allow to walk away because you can't afford to sign everybody. The NFL is the only sport that penalizes teams for having elite talent. And this is a prime example of that. Because Tyreek Hill, make no mistake about it, he's being greedy. But you know what I've said about this for the longest, and I'm going to continue to say, I've always sided with the player. Because owner's been eating long enough now. Stop being greedy. Let's keep it real, partner. Give to the needy. The players are the needy. And their ribs is touching. So they ain't trying to wait. And Tyreek Hill told the Chiefs, F around and I'm going to bite you and snatch the plate. And what they did was they effed around. So much so that they effed around long enough to let Davante Adams get traded and then get a $28 million per year deal. And Tyreek Hill said, whoa, 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 what the F is going on here? I was about to sign for 23. He got 28. I'm better than him. I need 30. And the Chiefs are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We were just good just a week ago. He said Davante Adams didn't get $28 million per year a week ago. This is why it's always better to do things early rather than to wait. Because the longer you wait, the price gets pushed up. You know that what the price of the pack is, okay? The price of the pack is $17.5 until inflation hits. All right? Till inflation hits, now the price of the pack went up to $19.5. You got that kind of bread? Because it's only going to keep going up. This is why I always tell teams, like when the Eagles got in front of that Carson Wentz deal, I said, they're smart for this. Everybody's like, well, you don't know what Wentz is going to be. At that time, we thought he was going to be elite. And that was the right thing to do. Today's overpay is tomorrow's deal. Just give it up now. Give it up. Because if you wait, that price is only going to get pushed up. Other guys are looking at what other guys are getting around the league. And if they think they're in that category, like Washington fans look at what Davante Adams got, and then they look at what Tyreek Hill's about to get, and they're like, oh my God, Terry. No. Terry's not in that conversation. You don't have to worry, okay? Terry's not in that conversation. They can't even hear. Terry's yelling. They can't hear him. They're so far away. They're in an elite class. Terry's not in that class. So you don't have to worry. Even Terry's echo doesn't make it to Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams. And you can say, well, if Terry had a quarterback, if in butts were candy and nuts, oh, what a wonderful world it would be, okay? He didn't have an elite quarterback. Those guys did. Deal with it. The bottom line is Terry's not in that conversation. So you don't have to worry about Terry's deal being $27 million. Terry is going to get the kind of money that we expect Terry to get, which is going to be hovering around $20 million, 20, 21, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, the longer they wait, and some of these other guys see what other players are getting, that price could get pushed up. We'll see what A.J. Brown gets. We'll see what Deebo Samuel gets. We'll see what all of these receivers, DK Metcalf, in that same group with Terry, same draft class. We'll see what those boys get. And that will determine what Terry gets. It ain't going to be $30 million. It ain't going to be close to that. Trust me. But the Chiefs, they waited. And they waited. And this is what happens when you wait. And I get it. Every year, the cap situation is different. And last year, there was a downturn in the cap, and it went from 200 and some odd million down to 181. And that hurt a lot of teams, including Kansas City. But they decided last year. Tyreek Hill was going to be good for one more year. We need to protect Patrick Mahomes. So we're going to spend all of our money on fortifying this offensive line. We're going to trade for Orlando Brown. We're going to go sign that ex-Patriots guard to a huge contract. We're going to remake this entire offensive line. We're going to spend draft capital on the line. We're going to remake the entire offensive line. So they decided to spend their resources on that. And they said, oh, Tyreek will be straight. We'll get him done next offseason. Okay, fine. They wasted time. And Tyreek Hill was going to take $23, $24 million. Because that would have put him at the top of the wide receiver market. And that's where they were hovering around, 22, 23. And he would have been okay with that, because that was the going rate for an elite wide receiver, one of the best in the league. That was the going rate. 25 was probably what he was pushing for. And then Davante Adams gets this massive 5-year, $140 whatever million, $41 million deal. And it sends shockwaves. I told you, every domino sends shockwaves through the league. You may not see it, but trust me, those ripples are felt. And the minute that deal became legit and Tyreek Hill and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, got a wind of those numbers, that deal that the Chiefs were discussing, that shit was off the table. Tyreek Hill's like, whoa, wait. Davante Adams got what? Excuse me? Oh, wait a minute. This changes everything. Kansas City, I want 30 now. And the Chiefs are like, come on, Tyreek, we can't do that. He's like, that is not my problem. Y'all should have did this shit when the price was lower. When the price was 17, when the price of the pack was 17.5, you should have did the deal then. Now the price is going up. Inflation, baby. Salary cap goes up. Guys are getting to the bag much quicker and much bigger bags. I need my bag, and I need my bag to be robust because, again, ain't nobody endorsing Tyreek Hill off the field. Tyreek Hill isn't getting a Kellogg's commercial deal. That ain't happening. All right. Tyreek needs all his bread. I'm not mad at him. I'm not glad at him. But let's face it. That man needs his money. He already won the Super Bowl. So the last thing he's thinking about is, I want to play for a winning organization. He don't give a shit about that. I need my money. I already got me a Super Bowl ring. I need my bread. This is when being in the league that penalizes you for having elite talent sucks. Because if you're the Chiefs, nothing will ever be the same. You can't replace Tyreek Hill. Yep, you got a first-round pick from the Dolphins. And that pick isn't top 10. That pick is a lot further in the first round. And this is a deep wide receiver draft class. And you'll find a guy, you'll draft a guy in the first round. So, unprecedented deal, right? We've never seen anything like this before from a receiver. Chiefs get a first, a second, a fourth this year in the draft from the Dolphins. And then they get a fourth and a sixth next year in the draft from the Dolphins. 5 total draft picks for a wide receiver. It does not happen in this league. That's quarterback shit. But then again, Devontae Adams getting 5 years, $141 million. That's quarterback shit. The game is changing. And these elite receivers, they are demanding elite money. Elite pass rushers are demanding elite money. Elite corners are demanding elite money. Elite tackles are demanding elite tackle money. Everybody wants theirs, and you can't afford to pay everybody. And honestly speaking, if you're going to cut a corner, to me, receiver is where you cut the corner. When's the last time an elite wide receiver won you a Super Bowl? Minus last year with Cooper Kupp. Generally speaking, that elite receiver doesn't deliver you a Super Bowl. We've seen many elite receivers come and go, but those guys usually aren't the reason. It's usually the quarterback that gets it done. And if you're a Bucs fan, you're screaming, what about Mike Evans? What about Mike Evans? Mike Evans wasn't the reason you won the Super Bowl. You won the Super Bowl because your defense stepped up and you had Tom Brady. The best combinations in the league, generally speaking, they don't win the Super Bowl. It's rare. But as this league continues to become more and more of a passing league, you need one of these boys. It's hard to get to the Super Bowl without a Mike Evans, without a Tyreek Hill, without a Cooper Kupp. It's hard. It's not impossible. We've seen it done, but it's becoming increasingly harder to do. You need one of these boys. And so now I want to look at it from the Chiefs and the Dolphins, and then I want to open it up and look at it from a wider spectrum and focus in on the division and the conference and the league as a whole. So for the Chiefs, nothing will ever be the same. Nothing will ever be the same. You can't replace Tyreek Hill. You can try. I don't care if you get Chris Olave or you get Garrett Wilson or you get, it doesn't matter who you draft. We've talked about Henry Ruggs. We've talked about Jalen Waddle. These are the closest guys we've ever seen to Tyreek Hill. They're not Tyreek Hill. And they're in the guy in this year's draft that even looks remotely close to Tyreek Hill. The reason why the Chiefs' offense was unstoppable is because the Chiefs put together the best off-schedule quarterback in NFL history. No disrespect to Fran Tarkenton or Randall Cunningham or Michael Vick or any of these quarterbacks that we've seen that have been legendary on the move creating shit. But what we've watched Mahomes do over the first 5 years of his career is beyond legendary and shit we've never seen before. No look passes, on the move, okay? Sidearm, flick of the wrist, 60 yards down the field, in stride. We've never seen shit like this before, okay? Fran Tarkenton wasn't throwing under armpit, sidearm without looking, okay? That shit wasn't happening. All right, Michael Vick wasn't running backwards 40 yards to then fling it 30 yards for a pass that went 70 yards right to his receiver for a touchdown. He wasn't doing that shit. We took the best off-schedule quarterback we've ever seen in NFL history, and we paired him with the best off-schedule wide receiver in NFL history we've ever seen. Because we've already said this. I don't care who you put on a football field. We've never seen a wide receiver run as fast as Tyreek Hill. We've never seen a wide receiver accelerate as fast as Tyreek Hill does. I don't give a shit who you want to pick. There's never been a faster receiver in NFL history on the field than Tyreek Hill. His acceleration is unlike anything we've ever seen. And when you start extending plays for 5 and 6 and 7 seconds, good luck trying to stay with number 10. Whether he was 5 yards down the field or 50 yards down the field, number 15 could get him the football. That shit ain't happening in Miami, okay? Tua isn't extending, and finding Tyreek Hill. That shit is over. But what hurts for the Chiefs is that's what made them damn near indefensible. Is even when you got the right defense called and you got them covered and there's a little bit of pressure on Mahomes, and then he starts running sideways and zigzagging and doing that crazy shit, that backyard football shit. All of a sudden, that perfect defense starts to fall apart, and here comes Tyreek Hill holding his hand up, telling Mahomes, I'm open, launch that bitch, I'm going to get it. And then Patrick lets it go. He runs under it, and now he's got the deuces up. What happened 7 seconds ago? We just had the perfect defense called. What happened was the magic between Mahomes and Hill. The Chiefs can't replicate that. You used to have to pick your poison. And look, Mahomes is going to be just fine. He's an elite quarterback. They'll replace Hill with a really good receiver or two. They got Juju Smith-Schuster. They still have Travis Kelce. They'll be fine. They just won't ever be the same as they were back in 2018 and 19 and 20. They'll never be this dynamic offense that's unstoppable ever again. They can replace him with really good receivers. There's no Jamar Chase in this year's draft. I don't even think there's a Justin Jefferson in this year's draft. There's some good receivers. But you got to get lucky. The Vikings got lucky. The Eagles thought that Jalen Reagor was better than Justin Jefferson. The Vikings got lucky. The Chiefs are going to have to get lucky. How many times are you going to get lucky? They got lucky with Tyreek Hill in the 3rd round. How many times are you going to get lucky? You got lucky with Patrick Mahomes. You got lucky with Travis Kelce. How many times do you think they're going to get lucky? At some point, they're going to start drafting guys that don't live up to the expectations, because at some point, your luck runs out. They're going to start drafting Cornell Powells, okay? That's who they're going to start drafting. They're going to start drafting guys that don't really add up to what they need. It'll never be the same in Kansas City. All those draft picks, that's a great haul. I've told you this before. In no sport is it possible to get equal value. Maybe baseball. But in football and in basketball particularly, it's hard to get equal value for a star. It just is. Because of the impact that star players have in those respective sports, you can take a guy out of a baseball game, walk his ass. Yeah, he's got an elite glove. That's cool. But as long as he's not killing us at the plate, we're good. You can take a guy out of a baseball game. It's hard to take a guy out of a football game. You can, it's possible, but it's tough. It's really tough. It's damn near impossible to take a guy out of a basketball game. It's damn near impossible. I don't care what you do. It's just tough. It's hard to get equal value for a star. And the Chiefs got 5 picks, doesn't equal to Tyreek Hill's impact on that football team and their offense. So try as they may to replace him, and they're going to try. They're damnedest. Good luck. They're going to need it. God bless their souls. They can't replace Tyreek Hill. And they tried to appease them. They tried to sign him. They did everything they could. The only price only thing that they're guilty of is they waited too damn late to get this extension done. And Devontae Adams' deal came in, and that changed everything. They're guilty of that. Pushing this Tyreek Hill deal off into the sunset. Oh, we're going to go out here and get all of these offensive linemen because Mahomes got, savagely beaten in the Super Bowl by the Buccaneers. We got to replace this offensive line. We got to upgrade. Oh, Tyreek will be fine. Put him on the back burner. We'll get him done in 2022. Okay. Suit yourself. Should have got it done in 2021. Remember, today's overpay is tomorrow's deal. Get it done. The sooner, the better. NFL teams like to be cheap. They like to wait. And the longer you wait, the higher the price becomes. The price gets pushed up. Now for the Dolphins side of things. the Dolphins, I don't look at the Dolphins any differently. Going into this, I think the Dolphins were 70-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. They're now 40-1 odds. Give me a break. They're not winning the Super Bowl because Tyreek Hill joined their football team. They're not even winning the AFC East because of this move. First of all, let me start by saying this. Their offensive line is a joke. It was last year. Everybody likes to rain on Tua and talk about how Tua is garbage. They didn't have any passes over 40 yards. They couldn't drop back and throw it 30 yards down the field. The offensive line was so damn bad. That's why they went out and signed Teron Armstead to this massive deal. But you know what's funny? Is they went out and they gave Connor Williams some good money to play guard. And I'm like, he's ass, right? Straight ass. I watched him in the NFC East for the last 4 years. The guy is god awful. And they went and gave him money like that's upgrading their guard position. Connor Williams is a joke. You're still going to get your ass beat like a drum inside. Tua's still going to be running for his life. If Connor Williams is supposed to man up the left guard position for you, you're in trouble. Left, right, doesn't matter. You're in trouble. And if you think you're going to do what you did with Jalen Waddle, with Tyreek Hill, which is bubble screen left, slant right, outcut left, you're sadly mistaken. You're not maximizing the value of a Jalen Waddle or a Tyreek Hill with these short ass passes. You're not maximizing his value. So it'll be interesting to see what the Dolphins do. And they got a new head coach. Mike McDaniel is a guy that, comes from San Francisco. If he has the same philosophy as Kyle Shanahan, then they'll run it. They'll run it to set up play action fake. And hopefully that'll hold defenses and that'll bring down safeties and that'll give Tyreek Hill one-on-one. And the run game, the threat of the run will hold defenses from being aggressive and getting to the quarterback, and that'll give Tua time. We'll see. They'll also run that drift route, that Deebo Samuel dig route over the middle of the football field that they've, Kyle Shanahan's been running since 2012 with Robert Griffin III and Pierre Garçon. They'll run that shit to death. And if Tyreek Hill is able to get that, catch that wide open over the middle of the field, he'll make some real money there. He'll do some serious damage there. But he'll never be the same Tyreek Hill because he's no longer with Patrick. And I don't know if he cares about that. I don't know if he really cares about his legacy in the league. Because if he did, he would have stayed in Kansas City. So I don't think he cares about it. I think he just cared about getting the most and calling himself the highest paid wide receiver in football. And if that's what he wants, obviously, clearly that is what he wants, then, good for him. I'm not mad at him. I'm not glad at him. He won't win another Super Bowl. That shit's dead. The Dolphins, this is a good move for them. But unless you can get the football to him consistently and not 5 yards on shallow crosses and not 5 yards on a speed out and not 5 yards on a quick slant like you did with Jalen Waddle and not a bevy and steady diet of wide receiver screens, unless you can actually push the football down the field and get it to Tyreek Hill in his element, then you just wasted 5 draft picks and a boatload of money. And I still think your offensive line is compromised. So we'll see what happens. So to me, Tyreek Hill doesn't win here. If you're talking about him going to the bank, sure. Yeah, he won in that department. But the rest of his career is going to suck. Or at least the rest of the foreseeable future of his career is going to suck. He won't be happy. I could see one or two sideline temper tantrums from him being open and not getting the football because the rush got to Tua, or being frustrated because this is the third game in a row he's had 3 or less catches for 40 yards or less. I could see him having one of those DK Metcalf meltdowns like we saw from DK last year when he straight up wasn't getting a rock. He didn't win here. His bank account won, but him as a player, his happiness, they took a massive hit today. He didn't win. The Dolphins damn sure didn't win. They gave up 5 draft picks, and presumably, we haven't seen the numbers yet, but I'd like to presume that we're going to see a 4-year, $120 million type of contract. Something that's hovering around $30 million per. They didn't win because they're not going to win a Super Bowl based off of this. The Chiefs definitely didn't win. They get 5 draft picks in exchange, but they much rather have Tyreek Hill than the 5 draft picks. Trust me. Their offense will never be the same. Never. They didn't win here. And looking at what that division has done, they're the biggest losers. Speaking of which, I said the title of this video is Nothing Was Ever the Same, and there's nobody won in this trade. Nobody wins except the AFC West. If you're the Chargers, you don't have to worry about defending Tyreek Hill anymore for 2 games every season with Patrick Mahomes getting him the football. Do you know how much of a relief that is for the Chargers, for the Raiders, for the Broncos? Like, they're singing, "Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day." Like, they're running in the streets celebrating right now. Celebrate. Tyreek Hill's out of the division. The Chiefs will never be the same. And all of a sudden, the balance of power in that division has shifted. I no longer look at the Chiefs offense like, oh shit, it's a juggernaut. Got to stop that. Don't know how the Chiefs defense is going to play, but I know this offense is capable of 40. Is it? Is it? Don't know that now. So if I'm the Chargers, why this ain't my division now? If I'm the Broncos, with all the firepower offensively and what I can do defensively, why this ain't my division now with Russell Wilson as quarterback? Hell, if I'm the Vegas Raiders, I'm looking at the Chiefs and saying, I can outscore your bitch ass now. I got Devontae Adams. I got Darren Waller. I got Hunter Renfrow. I got some shit. I can outscore your bitch ass now. The Raiders are looking at them and saying, watch yourself. I ain't playing with your bitch ass. That's what the Chargers are saying. That's what the Broncos are saying. They're not afraid of Juju Smith-Schuster. And trust me, the Chiefs are going to try and replace him. Try as you might. You can't find another Tyreek Hill. You'll never find, bloom, 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 a Tyreek like mine. You'll never find another Tyreek Hill. Oh, the Chiefs are going to miss Tyreek Hill. Oh, the Chiefs are going to miss Tyreek Hill. Singing a little Lou Rawls on your ass. Baby! It'll never be the same. So if I'm the AFC West, we just won today. Everybody in the AFC West just won today. Hell, everybody in the AFC conference feels like they just won today because you just took one of the best teams in the AFC in the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that has been one of 2 in the AFC Championship game each of the last 4 years. You just took that team, severely weakened them, and handed one of their best players to a team that won't do shit with them. That's a win for everybody in the AFC, as far as I'm concerned. That's a win for every single team that thinks they're a contender, from the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals to the Tennessee Titans to the Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, Bills. Every team that views themselves as a contender in that conference, they won today. because you took one of the best teams, severely weakened them, and gave one of their best players to a team that's going to do absolutely nothing with it. And the Dolphins they got guns and shit. They got guns and shit. Man, do they got some guns and shit. You got Devontae Parker. You got Jalen Waddle. Got Tyreek Hill. Got Preston Williams. You got Mike Gesicki. You brought in some running backs finally. Oh, you got some shit. Can you block long enough? And can your quarterback play at a high enough level to maximize all of the guns? I said the same thing about the Giants last year. Boy, they got guns and shit. Can Daniel Jones pull the trigger when he needs to? Can Tua Tagovailoa, and the same shit happened to Daniel Jones. His ass was unprotected last year. Unprotected. Better have an umbrella. Don't want to get rained on. Don't want to catch a brick. Daniel Jones didn't have an umbrella. He got rained on, and his best receiver didn't have a receiving touchdown last year. The Dolphins better protect Tua Tagovailoa, or it doesn't matter about all these weapons that you now have. They better run the shit out of the football too, which Mike McDaniel is going to come over and try to do. Good luck. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. Anyway, I digress. To me, the biggest winner, the only winner, is the AFC West. And you could stretch this out to the AFC conference if you like. Go right ahead. But really, it's the AFC West. They're the biggest winners of this thing. They're the only winners. Chiefs didn't win here. Dolphins didn't win here. Tyreek Hill didn't win here. This is not what Andy Reid, nor Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, or none of them wanted this. Nobody wins. Nobody except the AFC conference and the AFC West in particular. So, man, it's crazy. I mean, this shit is crazy. That's all I can say. All that I can say. Do, 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 do. All that I can say. That's all I can say. Anyway, let's get to your comments. Social media maneuvers. You know I'm a midday marauder. You know what it is. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. You know how this works. For those of you who do not, simply put, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comments read on the air. We'll get to as many comments as we can. Super chats, however, are the way to jump to the front of the line and ensure that your comment gets read. We'll try to get to as many of these as possible because I'm pretty sure a lot of you have something to say on the subject matter, just like I did. And I would love to hear from all of you. So let's get to the comment section. I do have a few super chats, so I want to get to them first. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Terry Maples, writes, Lou, Terry, Julio, Jarvis, and AB to the Chiefs. Skins need to take Pickens or Watson in round 2. Lou, after this offseason, next might be even crazier. I don't know if you can top this offseason with the amount of moves we've seen with quarterbacks and high-profile quarterbacks at that. The amount of movement we've seen with elite players, Khalil Mack and now Tyreek Hill, and the list goes on and on and on of guys changing teams and getting massive amounts of money. I think the money is going to continue to grow. Obviously, the cap is going to continue to increase. So we expect that. The money is expected to grow, and the players getting, these ridiculous contracts. We expect that. But the movement of players and the changing of teams, I don't think we'll ever see what we saw this offseason. I shouldn't say ever. That's a very powerful and strong word. I don't think we'll see that next year. Okay. I don't think we'll see that next year. Maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road. When a couple of these young quarterbacks are disgruntled. But to see Deshaun Watson change teams, to see Russell Wilson change teams, to see Khalil Mack change teams, to see, Carson Wentz change teams again, to see now Tyreek Hill change teams, to see Devontae Adams change teams. We've never seen anything like this. I mean, this is crazy. Matt Ryan is now an Indianapolis Colt. The dominoes are just ridiculous and they're falling in all kinds of different directions. So, It's one thing for a guy to sign somewhere as a free agent. It's another thing for guys to be traded. And that's what we've seen this offseason is trades going crazy. And that I just can't see continuing to happen year in, year out. But to your point, the Chiefs, they have to go out and get a veteran. Like, this is a veteran team. You can't expect a rookie to come in and be Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. They got to do something. AB is not, to me, it's not an option. He's not a viable option for any team in the NFL. I think his NFL career is over. When you walk out on a team during the middle of a game in the fashion that he did, that's it. You've burned every single bridge that existed back to the NFL. He's done. So you could take AB off the list. But Julio Jones is interesting, but you got to get healthy Julio. I don't know if that guy's ever coming back again. Jarvis Landry doesn't move the needle. You don't want to go. To me, it was either Jarvis Landry or Juju Smith-Schuster. You did not need both because they're the same player. So you don't want both of those guys. You don't need both of those guys. You need one or the other. They took the younger of the two options. I thought they did the right thing with Juju Smith-Schuster. He would have been the perfect complement to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now you need a dynamic weapon. And I don't think that, like, this is why the timing of this is so bad. This is something else I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you made this point because it jogged my memory. The timing of this is so bad for the Chiefs because had they known that this was going to come about, they could have went out and got Allen Robinson. He would have still been available, and he would have been a good, he's not dynamic, he's not a speed demon, but he would have been a nice, piece to bring in to help them offset this. Obviously Odell Beckham Jr. is still out there, and you might not have to pay him a ton of money, but he won't be ready for the start of the season. But that's another guy that if you're Green Bay and Kansas City, two teams that are vying for a Super Bowl with an elite quarterback looking for a veteran receiver, that you may not have to do that right now because he's not healthy, but that's a guy that I would definitely look to kick the tires of when he is healthy. Those two teams should be at the forefront of any market for Odell Beckham Jr. But as far as I'm concerned, the Chiefs have to do something. I think another guy in the veteran market, but really they got to hit a home run in the draft. That's what it all really kind of boils down to is now they have 2 first-round picks. They got to figure out a way to and maybe that guy's Chris Olave, maybe because I don't think it's going to be one of those guys that will, potentially go in the top 15 of the draft, but, somebody will fall to them because it's a deep draft class of receivers. Somebody will fall to them, but again, he won't be Tyreek Hill. Right. And we'll see what Washington does, in round 2, as far as receiver is concerned. They may go round 1 receiver. I wouldn't rule that out. But if they don't go round 1 receiver, I think they need to go round 2 receiver. Now, I say that, but if they don't go round 1 linebacker, then they need to go round 2 linebacker. That supersedes receiver. So linebacker must be achieved in the first 2 rounds, if you ask me. So if 11 isn't a linebacker and they don't trade back and accumulate more picks, then 47 must be a linebacker. Thank you for the super chat, Terry Maples. Andre Robinson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Andre writes, salute Louie T. Appreciate you, Andre. He says, I'm a Dallas fan, but a huge fan of yours. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, Andre. Says, how long until the NFC East can be the big dog division again? Well, it starts at the quarterback position. In order for that division to rise back to the level that it once was in the late, mid 80s, early to mid 80s to then early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, in order to get back there, you need quarterbacks. I mean, think about it. When the NFC East was probably at its peak, the Cowboys had Danny White, the Giants had Phil Simms, Washington had Joe Theismann, and the Eagles weren't that good then yet. They were about to get Randall Cunningham to change the game, but in the Cardinals, I think they had Lomax, but at the end of the day, you had star power. You had Danny White, you had Joe Theismann, you had Phil Simms. These are guys that, 2 of the 3, all 3 of them won Super Bowls. Did Danny White win a Super Bowl? I don't know if he won a Super Bowl. I'll take that back. He might not have won a Super Bowl. He's been to a bunch of them. I don't know if he ever won one, but you need star power. And then again, when there was the resurgence, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, Randall Cunningham, Troy Aikman, and the Giants still had Sims, and then they ended up with Jeff Hostetler. You got to have star power at the most important position. And right now, all we got right now is Dak Prescott. That's it. That's the only quarterback in this division that carries any weight right now. Nobody respects Carson Wentz right now. This is when it's bad. And, there's an argument here to be made. And we'll probably have this discussion, at a later date and time. But Carson Wentz gets traded into the division, and I think he automatically becomes the second best quarterback in the division. I mean, that's the state of the NFC East right now. So in order for that division to rise to the ranks of what we want it to be, because I like you, want the NFC East to be the NFC Beast. I want it to be that division that it once was. I told you, I don't get pleasure out of winning the division, at 9-7-1. That shit doesn't move the needle for me. I'll take it. I was excited about winning the division at 7-9, but that shit didn't move me. Right? Because I don't want to win the division and be the strongest of the weakest, of the weakest division. I don't want to be the best of the worst. I want to win the division at 13-4 because Dallas was 12-5 and Philadelphia was 11-6. I want to win the division because I outlasted what was the best division in football. Because iron sharpens iron. Because if you can outlast this, which is why I think the AFC West and maybe the Denver Broncos will be the team to have the Super Bowl winner this upcoming season, because they're going to beat the hell out of each other, but it's going to make them stronger. They're going to look at everybody else like food because they're like, man, I had to go through Russell Wilson twice. I had to go to Derek Carr and the Raiders team twice. Mahomes, even though it's not as tough of a task now, still had to go through those boys twice. I still had to go through Justin Herbert and that group twice. Man, no matter what team you are, you got 6 games against brutal competition. Pick a team and the rest of the division is still going to be tough. There isn't one cupcake in that division. Somebody's going to emerge, and the winner of that division, more likely than not, isn't going to be 11-6. You want to win that division, you're probably going to have to be 12-5, 13-4, because the rest of the division is breathing down your neck. And you know what? That's what you want. If you're a fan, you shouldn't want to clinch the division. I mean, it's cool to clinch the division by week 13 because everybody else in the division sucks. But you know what that also does? Is that, to me, if you don't play a tough schedule outside of your division and your division stinks, it to me projects this false sense of entitlement. You think you're really better than what you are. You get to the playoffs and everybody's good. Then you realize, oh shit, maybe we weren't as good as we thought we were. And we've seen that happen in the NFL plenty of times. Team thinks they're good. They're 13-3. Division is garbage. They clinched in week 13. They rested their players the final 2 weeks of the season. They get a first round bye, and then they get beaten a divisional round. First game in, get their ass smoked and cooked. Because their division won't shit. They didn't play anybody, and they thought they were better than what they were. I want this division to be good again, just like you do. But it's going to take quarterbacks to come in and solidify those positions for those respective teams to get that division up to speed. And Washington hasn't had a quarterback in damn near 40 years. Not a franchise one, at least. We've had, glimpses in that time frame, but we've never had a legitimate, franchise guy since Joe Theismann, which is sad and it's pathetic to even think about it that way. But it's the sad truth of the matter. The Eagles are searching. They know Jalen Hurts isn't that guy, but they're going to roll with him for now because they don't have a replacement. And the Giants are in a transitional phase right now. They know that Daniel Jones isn't the answer, but they don't believe in any of these quarterbacks in this year's draft class. So they're going to wait. So we'll see. Thank you for the super chat, Andre. Greatly appreciate you. Shake Money. Like that name, Shake Money. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, as a Fins fan, I miss Bobby McCain. What is your assessment? Great content, by the way. I appreciate you, Shake Money. What is my assessment of what exactly? Bobby McCain, of the trade? If you're asking me about the trade, to me, it all really depends. To me, everything is dependent upon your offensive line. Because I haven't met a team that has had elite talent that has been able to circumvent poor offensive line play. I just haven't met a team that's been able to do that yet. And even if the offensive line holds up, then the next question turns to Tua. Can Tua be what you need him to be? I have confidence in Tua. I do. I believe in Tua more so than most, but I don't believe in your offensive line. First of all, Teron Armstead, he's a hell of a tackle when healthy. Go check his rap sheet, and you'll find out that shit is littered with injuries and missed football games. So the question for me with Teron Armstead isn't if this man is going to get injured and miss time, is when is he going to miss time and get injured, and for how long? So at some point, you're going to be without your left tackle that you just spent a bunch of money on. I pray that you don't put Connor Williams at left guard, but rather right guard. Nobody wants to get their ass besieged on one side of the football. Tua is a left-handed quarterback, so you much rather have him see the pressure coming from his left side than blind side on the right. But Connor Williams, wherever you stick him, he's going to get his ass beat like a drum. He stinks. No, he doesn't stink. He stinks. So your offensive line to me is still a work in progress. But, I mean, the trade is awesome if you can protect. If you can run the football, which is what Mike McDaniel is going to want to come in and do. If you can run the football effectively and get that San Francisco 49er thing going, where that play action fake becomes lethal, those linebackers have to suck up, then Tyreek Hill will be worth the price of admission. But if that offensive line is tragically bad and there are holes and you can't plug all the dikes with all the money you've spent in free agency, then this trade is going to be very wasteful in my estimation. So as far as Bobby McCain is concerned, he's been really good. We like him. I don't love Bobby McCain, but I like him a lot. You can do better than Bobby McCain, right? But I love his mentality. He's got a dog mentality. I wish his play matched his mentality because he's a dog in terms of the way he goes about his business, So I like Bobby McCain a lot. Let's see. Got another super chat. This is from Coley Boom. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Coley writes, they should have at least asked for Waddle. You know what? That's exactly what I would have done. That's a great point, Coley. I didn't even think about that. That would have been the closest thing you would have gotten to Tyreek Hill. And maybe the Dolphins said no. And if you're the Chiefs, you say, look, I got the Jets on the other line, bro. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, I want Jalen Waddle in this deal. Because to me, you're not going to find a guy that plays like Tyreek Hill. And maybe they were thinking, Waddle's already been in the league for a year. He's getting closer to us having to pay him again. Why not just hit the reset button with a brand new rookie that we'll have under contract for 5 more years that we'll be able to take advantage of and maybe find a guy that'll open this window back up for us. But to me, I think you're absolutely spot on. I would have much rather said, hey, I don't need 5 draft picks. Just give me 3 and Waddle. And it didn't even have to. You could have said, give me your first, and I'll take the 4th and the 6th next year and Waddle, and we'll call it even. Because you can't have my 1st, 2nd, and Waddle, okay? But if I'm the Chiefs, I still want your 1st. I want Waddle, and you can give me the 4th and the 6th next year, and we'll call it even. Or you say, all right, if the Chiefs if the Dolphins I can't give you Waddle's a 1st-round pick. I can't give you Waddle and the 1st-round pick. Okay, give me the 2, the 4, and the 4 next year and the 6 next year, and give me Waddle, and just take your 1 back. But that's a really good point, Coley. That to me, if I'm Kansas City, the only way to even come remotely close to replacing Tyreek Hill would have been give me Jalen Waddle. That's a hell of a point, man. Hell of a point. Didn't even think about that. Didn't even dawn on my brain, but that's what I would have asked for. And maybe they did, and the Dolphins said no. If the Dolphins would have told me no, all right, I'm doing business with the Jets. Click up. Hello? Hello? Hey, call him back. Call him back. All right. Waddle's in the deal. Okay? Because then I'm trading him to the Jets. even if it's a lesser deal, out of principle. So you couldn't have they wouldn't have gotten away with Waddle. They would have had to give up Waddle. You're right. You're spot on, Coley. Let's see. Pac-Man D3. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Pac-Man D3 writes, Lou, I'm intrigued by us signing Obata. I think Ron plans on using JSW inside this year, and we recognize we needed some explosiveness behind Chase and Montez. I'm intrigued by F.A. Obata, too. I think I'm going to do a little video on that a little bit later on and put that out in the atmosphere. So I'm intrigued by him, too, only for the reason that we just needed a veteran that can, gives us a little juice off the edge. He's an upgrade over everybody that we currently have on the roster. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and change the game, but I do like the signing. But, a lot of people are going to poo-poo it because it's another Panther to Washington, pipeline move, right? Same shit we've been seeing, with Ron, him just going out and getting guys he's comfortable with, that he has experience with, similar to the Andrew Norwell deal. So you're going to get people that are going to dismiss it. But I, too, like this move. And maybe they do try to kick JSW inside. I don't know if that'll make a huge difference in terms of, because I actually haven't had a problem with him on the edge as a pass rusher. He's a try-hard guy. I don't think he's going to move inside and all of a sudden his quickness is going to win him some one-on-one matchups. I just think he's going to get stonewalled inside because he's not that big. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think James Smith-Williams is a quality backup defensive end. He's morphed into that. I respect him. I don't love Casey Toohill. And I need to see more from the young fellas, William Bradley King and of course, Shaka Tony. So I think this is a good move, bringing in F.A. Obata. Thank you for the super chat. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Trevor Patch, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, pounding the table for Jordan Davis to Washington at 11. You've been pounding that table for the last 4 days now. I think you've put out a tweet every day. Good luck with that, man. Good luck with that, because I don't think it's going to happen. It's not 0%. It's not 0%, but I don't think it's happening. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, Lou, Big Money Sonny, what's good with you? He says, man, Andy Reid will find another cockroach in the draft like he always does. They'll be fine. And Dallas stinks. Sorry, Andre. Peace and love. You want to say that, but again, Tyreek Hill, it'd be one thing if they just lost to Allen Robinson. You can find another Allen Robinson in the draft, It'd be one thing if they just lost even an Antonio Brown. You can find another Antonio Brown. You can't find another, Tyreek Hill. Now, here's the thing. And you're right. The Chiefs' offense isn't going to just fall off a cliff. They do still have Juju Smith-Schuster. They do still have Travis Kelce. And they do still have Patrick Mahomes. That does count for something, okay? So it's not like they're just going to flatline. But I don't think people understand how big of a part of their offense Tyreek Hill was and how much fear he struck in the hearts of defensive coordinators everywhere. Yeah, Travis Kelce, tough to stop on third downs. Mahomes wanted to go to him. Almost impossible in the red zone. Yeah, I get all that. They weren't losing sleep over Kelce. They were losing sleep over 10 because Kelce wasn't going to get you on a 67-yard catch and run for a touchdown. The Chargers may beg to differ, but that's not Kelce's game. Everybody fears the dude that can turn a 12, 13-play drive that spans 6 minutes and culminates in a 2-yard touchdown run. They're afraid of the guy that can take that drive and turn it into a 2-play, 73-yard drive that was capped off by a 71-yard touchdown strike. That's the guy that scares the hell out of people. Not the guy that's going to nickel and dime you. Even though Keenan Allen is cool, man. He's cool, but that's not the dude that's going to keep me up at night. Yeah, he may kill me on third downs, but they're going to win the game, 20 to 16 with Keenan Allen with 11 catches for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns or 1 touchdown. They're going to win the game 20 to 16 with Keenan Allen doing that. With Tyreek Hill going apeshit like he did against the Buccaneers in 1 quarter for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns, you're going to lose the game 47 to 24. That's the shit that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. And he didn't grow on trees. You don't just go up, climb up the tree, and pick off another Tyreek Hill. So Andy Reid may find another good receiver. And I've heard that they're going to try to go and get a guy like Valdez-Scantling, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS from the Packers, because of his speed. He ain't Tyreek Hill, man. Okay. But I said they're going to have to go get a veteran, and also supplement the veteran that they go out and get, in addition to Juju Smith-Schuster, with a rookie, a dynamic rookie. That first-round pick, one of their first-round picks will be spent on a wide receiver. I can assure you of that. Just like the Eagles, one of their first-round picks this year will be spent on a wide receiver. I can assure you of that. My guy, Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat once again. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Big Money Sonny, who writes, oh, and you're right. Pay McLaurin now, not later. And they will. They will. But trust me, Terry not signing a deal right now is not on the team. It's on Terry because he wants to wait, and he should wait. You see what waiting does. I already told you how this is going to go. Terry's going to wait until Deebo Samuel or A.J. Brown or both get paid, and then he'll see what they get, and then he's going to base what he's going to ask for off of what those boys get. Because in Terry's mind, I'm better than all these boys. I'm better than all of them. And that may not be the case, but his agent is going to run Terry's numbers to Washington and say, hey, Deebo Samuel numbers don't look like this. And Washington's going to say, but Deebo Samuel is doing this, and that. And he's this percentage of the 49ers offense. And they're going to counter with Terry's got 2,000-yard receiving seasons in a row. Who's the last receiver to do that for this organization? Terry's not only the best player on the field, he's the best player in the locker room, and he's one of the leaders of this organization. He's a pillar in the community. You need Terry McLaurin. So it's going to be a back and forth, give and take. But at the end of the day, Terry's going to get, $21, $22 million per year, I think. And, that number is going to continue to escalate. At first, it was like, yeah, Terry will get 19, 20. And that number more likely than not looks like 21, 22 now. And, depending on what A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf and, Deebo Samuel get, that number could be 23, 24. I mean, that number can continue to rise. We'll see. Whatever it is, he deserves it. Whatever it is, he deserves it. And then, like I said, it'll look like a lot of money now. And in 2 years, it'll look like chump change because dudes will be getting $30+ million at the receiver position for the elite guys. So we'll see what happens. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, where do you see second tier FA guys like Will Fuller, D-Jax, Emmanuel Sanders, Beasley, Jarvis, AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton, and Samuel Watkins going? That's a good list of receivers. The problem with a lot of those guys is that they're old. They're old. Like D-Jax is old. Emmanuel Sanders is old. AJ Green is old. T.Y. Hilton is old. Samuel Watkins, that's a 2014 first-round pick. He's getting old. Will Fuller, between the suspension and him always being injured, he's a guy that it's hard to invest in him. The only guy that I look at on this list and I say, with the right team, he'd be a tremendous fit is Cole Beasley because he's a slot machine. There's always a place in the league for a slot machine. And if you're trying to win ball games, if you're serious about winning, you need a winner in the slot. Whether that guy's a tight end or that guy's a receiver, you need a big-time winner in the slot. And for me, Cole Beasley is one of those dudes. So I think if he lands on the right team, I think he could be tremendous for somebody. Like, I look at a place like Pittsburgh, and I say they could use a slot receiver. They could use a winner in the slot. And so that would be a great place for him, if you ask me. If you want to, go somewhere and maximize his ability, somewhere like Pittsburgh could use a guy like Cole Beasley. And there are a handful of other teams that could use a straight bona fide stud in the slot. If you're Arizona, you just lost Christian Kirk, who was your slot winner. Cole Beasley makes a ton of sense for me if I'm the Arizona Cardinals. So to me, a lot of those dudes are old or there's some kind of defect. That's why they're second tier free agents. There's some type of defect with them. It'll be interesting because a guy like AJ Green can still help someone, a guy like Will Fuller can help somebody. Hell, Jarvis Landry can help someone, but it's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right fit. I think a guy like Jarvis Landry makes a ton of sense in Pittsburgh as well. Another guy that can win in the slot, tough guy, physical, I think he makes a lot of sense to me in a place like Tennessee. Jarvis Landry makes a ton of sense. He'll block in the run game. They need another option to get the football to, and they need another tough guy, I think, on that team. I think the Titans need two guys. They need a tough guy at receiver to go along with A.J. Brown, and then they need a vertical threat. They're missing a vertical threat, a true vertical threat, which is what Julio Jones was supposed to provide them. And they may be able to find one of those in the draft. I think a guy like Jarvis Landry makes a ton of sense. But they just got Robert Woods. I'm just thinking about it now. Robert Woods is the new tough guy for the Titans. And that's the kind of identity that they're looking for in Tennessee. Robert Woods, he'll dig out the safety in the run game. He'll come out and he will he'll pick off a defensive end or a linebacker in the run game. He'll do whatever is necessary, and he can work every level of the football field. But he's not much of a third level threat over the top. But that's Jarvis Landry. They're kind of one and the same with their games. So that's the kind of team Jarvis Landry should be looking for. Baltimore makes a lot of sense for a guy like Jarvis Landry, if you ask me. So we'll see what happens. Storm, thank you for the super chat, or greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Storm. My guy Storm writes, Ziegler just did those boys in KC, Lou. He did. I mean, the deal he gave Devontae Adams, again, domino effect. I don't know if he knew exactly what he was doing. I just knew he needed to get Devontae Adams to Vegas. But I don't think he knew that he was killing two birds with one stone. By giving Devontae Adams that deal, he essentially crippled the Chiefs' ability to get a deal done with Tyreek Hill. I don't think he envisioned that, but that was an unintended consequence that came from that deal that really benefits not just the Raiders, but every team in that division. He says, traded for Adams, gave him a contract KC couldn't afford, so they had to let Hill go. It's chess, not checkers. If you want to give your brand new GM credit for that, go right ahead. I will not stop you. Okay. I will not stop you from giving your guy that credit. I will not give him that credit. I do not think your guy is playing Jedi mind tricks over here and he's Yoda. But if he did do that, then it's definitely chess, not checkers. I think he was just playing checkers, and he just so happened to get a move where he was able to boop, 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 and take four pieces at the same time and get kinged. So I don't think he actually was looking at the board and setting some shit up. I just think he happened to have pieces fall in place, and then he was able to go bop, 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 king me. We'll see. But if you want to give him credit, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Double H, writes, sup, T? Sup, Hunter? Says, apparently Ron is at the Ohio State Pro Day and all of these fan pages are freaking out. I'm aware. He wasn't at the quarterback pro days earlier in the week, but he's at this one. So, everybody's, oh, my God, Ron is at the Ohio State. That means they got to be taking a receiver. He could be there looking at C.J. Stroud for next year. Who's to say why he's there? He says, keep saying he's only been to a few pro days, and and those players were Cam Newton, Patrick Peterson, and Christian McCaffrey. Receiver at 11? It could be. It could be, or he could be sizing up C.J. Stroud for next year's draft. Who knows? Okay. As Storm just said, it could be chess, not checkers. He could be setting up a move for next year. He could be looking at their kid and saying, That's a big, impressive kid. Reminds me of Newton. We should take him next year. He could be doing that. He could be sizing up CJ Stroud as we speak. Looking at him throw the football, watching it, because everybody loves to watch a quarterback throw in person. Watch them spin it. Watch them rip it in person. Maybe that's why he's there. Or it could be the obvious. It could be he's there for the receivers. I don't know. We'll see. Should be interesting. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. And just to add, Hunter, I'm going to add that into the Washington video that I decided to do later on. Try to add that in as another topic of discussion. Red Wings 01. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I wouldn't mind getting Fuller. Doubt it'll happen. I wouldn't mind that either. I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on him because he's so explosive and dynamic. But again, he's gonna get hurt. They envision De'Ami Brown being Will Fuller. That's what they envision De'Ami Brown being. So they're hoping De'Ami Brown can give them that kind of juice over the top. So I don't see them going out and getting Will Fuller. I think they view him as a clone of De'Ami Brown. I think they hope that De'Ami Brown morphs into what Will Fuller was in Houston when he was healthy. Storm, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Storm. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Storm, writes, the fourth best AFC West quarterback has the best skill positions on his team, and the best QB has the worst skill position on his team. Who would have thought? LOL. I think this, like I said, to me, this shifts the balance of power in the AFC West. The Chiefs are no longer the team to beat, if you ask me. I think with all the moves that have been made, I think you can make a case for the Broncos or the Chargers being the number one team. And now I think that, and again, I said this before this move happened, and when the Raiders got Devontae Adams, I said, if you told me the Raiders won that division, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I wouldn't even blink. I go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. Any of the four teams can win that division. It's that loaded, it's that stacked, and it's that competitive. And so with this move, I think the balance of power has shifted. I think the Chiefs are no longer the team to beat in that division. Now, they could replace Tyreek Hill with a really good receiver, and because Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, he could elevate that team, and they could still be the team to beat in that division. That wouldn't shock me, okay? Again, when you have an elite level quarterback like Mahomes, you surround him with enough talent. Aaron Rodgers has been getting it done with one guy and one guy alone for years. You know, Brady has done it with a cast of nobodies for years. Now, I wouldn't call Gronk and Edelman nobodies. You know, that's disrespectful. But Gronk is going to the Hall of Fame. Is Edelman? Maybe, maybe not. But I look at it like this. If Mahomes is as good as we say he is, and I think he is, they get a really good receiver. He doesn't have to be great, just really good to go along with Kelsey and Juju Smith-Schuster for this year. And maybe they replace Juju Smith-Schuster or they re-sign him long-term next year. We'll see what happens. But they get a good receiver in there. They should be able to keep the party going somewhat. All right. They should be able to keep the party going. Now, it ain't top shelf liquor. It ain't the best beer, you know, that they're keeping the party going with. All right. But it's more beer. It's beer. All right. It might be some Natty Light that you're drinking now. It's no longer, you know, Miller or Heineken, you know, or Corona. It might be Natty Light, but hey, it's still beer, right? So we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens. Coley, boom. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. My guy, Coley. Appreciate you for doubling up rights. I'm doing this just to congratulate you on pronouncing my name right. Been rocking with you for a while. Keep grinding, Lou. I appreciate you, Coley. And I don't know why that's a hard name to pronounce. People mess that up, I guess. Or maybe I've messed it up before, but I find that hard to believe that I messed it up before, because it's not a hard name to say. But, some people, they do too much. They see a name with an extra letter or two, and they just go crazy, lose their minds. But I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you bringing that value that you brought to the table earlier with the Waddle comment, because I didn't even think about that. And to me, if the Chiefs didn't try to do that, which I'm pretty sure they did, and the Dolphins said no, if they didn't try to do that, shame on them. That was the best way to replace him. And it would have been a guy on a rookie contract, a first-round pick. You would have had him under contract for 4 more years. He's the closest thing we've ever seen to Tyreek Hill, to me. That was the move. And if the Dolphins say no, you hang up on them and you pick up the phone and you call the Jets. All right, let's do business. So, I don't know. Thank you for the super chat, Cody, man. Really do appreciate you. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan writes, who is Louis T? I'm going to assume that your phone decided to have a mind of its own and correct you. He says, who will be your first Commander jersey? I don't buy jerseys, bro. So I won't have a Commander's jersey. So the better question will be, what will be your first Commander's hat? What color, what design? I don't know the answer to that either, but I don't do jerseys. I'm too old to be rocking another man on my back. So I don't intend on buying a jersey. That's not my swag. Again, I don't dissuade anybody else from doing that. That's just not my thing. Got another super chat here from Condoleezza Perry, my girl Condo P. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My girl Condo P writes, did you hear that Commanders games won't be airing on 980 or 106-7 this year? I did hear about that. They're no longer the flagship station of the Washington Commanders. There are a lot of changes. They lost the beer sponsorship. There's a lot of changes going on, and none of it is good. So we're going to see what happens. We'll see what kind of consequences, that these, moves have. Condo P though, let's keep it a buck, right? Who listened to the games on the radio? Unless you're 87 years old or you're in transit somewhere, you don't have eyes on a television screen, and you're traveling, you're in transit, and the radio is the only form of communication that you have. Who actually listens to the games? I know some people that actually sync up the broadcast with the game because they don't want to hear the commentators. That's fine. I'm not going out of my way to do that. I haven't listened to the radio ever, broadcast ever. I don't go there for anything of significance. I don't listen to the radio programs on either of those stations, so it doesn't affect me one bit. I don't really know how this is a big deal. I did hear about it though, but we'll see. We'll see how impactful all of this ultimately is in the grand scheme of things. But what it does signify is that things are changing. Things are changing. And it may not be for the best, for the team and the organization, but it may be for the best in terms of trying to move on from Daniel Snyder. Again, we'll see. Thank you for the super chat, Condo P. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, Sonny, Tyreek just ended up in Pelican Bay. 23-hour lockdown shoe program. At least he's eating well, like the good fellas. Salutes and enjoy your day. That reminds me of Trading Day when, Denzel goes apeshit and tells them, you'll be eating in Pelican Bay. I don't think it'll be that bad, but it could be that bad if the offensive line stinks. I don't think it'll be that bad, but it could be that bad if that O-line can't protect Tua Tagovailoa, and we see what we saw from the offense last year, which was a bevy of short throws to get it out of his hands quickly because they didn't have time to drop back, then yeah, it could be 23-hour lockdowns and him having him being a part of the shoe program. That could definitely happen for sure. Thank you for the super chat, Big Buddy Sonny. 1/6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, two teams. He said most teams too likely to draft a quarterback from most too likely from to the he says, okay, let's rewind that and let's do it again. Teams most too likely draft a quarterback from most too likely to least likely. Okay, so teams most likely to then teams less likely. All right. And 1/6 Devil Doc writes, Carolina, Atlanta, Pitt, Seattle, New Orleans, Texans, Giants, Detroit, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Tennessee. Agree? So Carolina is his team most likely to draft a quarterback. The Titans, the least likely. But all of these teams are in his conversation of potentially drafting a quarterback. But the Panthers are most likely to do it. The Titans in that group, less likely. The least likely to do it. In 1/6 Devil Doc's mind. I don't see Washington anywhere in here. They should have been in here. If you're considering teams that may still draft a quarterback, I don't think they will either. You're saying that you don't think they will. I agree with you. But if you're adding teams like Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill in the mix, then Washington should be in this conversation as well. I do think Carolina's the most likely to draft a quarterback. I do think Atlanta's the second most likely to draft a quarterback. I do think Pittsburgh is the third most likely to draft a quarterback. Now, there's an argument that could be made for Seattle sliding all the way up to as far as 2, even being, at 3. But I think 4 is the right spot for them because in my mind, they're sitting there at 9 are the Seattle Seahawks. And I could see them passing on this year's crop of quarterbacks and revisiting this next year or taking a guy. Because, Seattle always thinks they're the smartest in the room, right? They've done this for years, which is why they didn't really maximize their first-round draft picks because they always thought they were the smartest in the room. Oh, we'll figure it out in the 7th round or we'll get an undrafted guy, right? So I could see them saying, hey, we don't have to take a guy at 9. We can take a guy in the 2nd round or take a guy in the 3rd round and we'll figure it out. We got Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. We can do it again. I see them thinking that way because they think they're the smartest guys in the room. So that's why I don't put Seattle at 2 or 3. I put them at 4 with you. New Orleans at 5. I don't think the Saints are that high on this list. I think they're going to roll with Jameis Winston. I don't see them taking a quarterback this year. Maybe they revisit that next year, but I don't think they're even thinking about quarterback with Jameis Winston in tow. I don't think they love any of these quarterbacks. Not many teams do. I would push a team like the Giants or even Detroit up ahead of them in their pursuit of a quarterback. Even the Texans, who I don't think is looking to draft a quarterback this year, they're going to roll with Davis Mills and see what they have this year. I could see them, again, a lot of teams are going to be in that, hey, let's just push it to next year type of deal. I'd push the Saints back, push the Giants up, push the Lions up, push the Texans back along with the Saints. And then I would leave Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Tennessee right where they are. So I would stick the Saints and the Texans in front of Minnesota, Philadelphia, Tennessee, and I would push the Giants and Detroit up in this pecking order. But you're not that far off. We're not that far away from one another. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, tight end market is dried up. You think there are any plans other than draft a guy? No, I think you're right. The tight end market, it's pretty much, dried up. Not and really with the guys that you wanted to go after and not spend a boatload on. Once I could have told you that once we saw 3 or 4 of the biggest names in the tight end group get franchise tagged. You know, Dalton Schultz, David Njoku, Mike Gesicki. Once we saw those guys get franchise tags, the tight end market was never going to be what I thought it was going to be, because that pushed all of the other guys that I thought would be second tier guys, that pushed them up to first tier guys. Evan Ingram becomes an afterthought if Mike Gesicki and Dalton Schultz and David Njoku are all available. Nobody's thinking about Evan Ingram. But because those guys are off the board, Mo Alley Cox is off the board. Now you're looking at, you know, Ingram and OJ Howard and Gerald Everett, and you're saying, they looking pretty tasty right now, you know? And so those guys got scooped up sooner rather than later. So again, I think at this point now, the Washington's is going to turn their attention to the draft if they're interested. And clearly they lost Ricky Seals-Jones. They wanted him back. Clearly they're in the market for a tight end, because they wanted Ricky Seals-Jones back. So clearly they're in the market for a tight end. So now I think they just say, all right, we'll just focus all our resources on another young tight end like we did last year. I need a better athlete than the one we got last year. That's all I'm saying. I need a better athlete. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings 01 writes, Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Mark Johnson, writes, reports are the Chiefs have eyes on Sky Moore. Love Sky Moore. Love what he brings to the table. He showed he can run at the combine. He's shown toughness. He can run routes. Love Sky Moore. Sky Moore isn't Tyreek Hill, but Sky Moore could be a really good player for them. So that would be a good fit. That was the first guy that I thought of in the draft. After the first guy I thought about was Ohio State wide receiver Chris Olave. That was the first guy I thought about to replace him. And then after him, I thought of Sky Moore. We'll see what they decide to do. They're going to do something at receiver, clearly. But we'll see. 16 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Greatly appreciate you. 16 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up. Who writes, what up, Lou? What's up, 16? He says, I'm starting to think that Pickett and Willis are going to go top 10 along with 3 tackles, 3 to 4 edge, 1 safety, 1 receiver. Serious spillage equals trade back. I still don't think both of them go top 10. Not unless Seattle falls in love with one of those quarterbacks, the one that Carolina doesn't take. I still think Carolina at 6 is going to take Kenny Pickett. If Seattle loves Malik Willis, which is a possibility, and that's why I said they could be as high as number 2 on that list that you put forth. That's not out of the realm of possibility, because Malik Willis could remind them of Russell Wilson. And he may need a little bit of time this season. That's why they got Drew Lock to start initially, while they, continue to work with Malik Willis and get him up to speed. If that's the case, then yeah, you got 2 top 10 quarterbacks right there. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. I could see that happening. To me, Seattle, that's the only quarterback that they would take at 9 is Malik Willis. If they don't, that's the only scenario in which 2 quarterbacks go in the top 10. If they don't take him at 9, then I don't see 2 quarterbacks going in the top 10. But to your point, it could happen. We know that at least 2 tackles are going to go in the top 10. At least 2 tackles. The Texans are going to take a tackle, and the Giants are going to take a tackle, right? Like, if the Jets don't get to the tackle first, one of the New York teams is taking a tackle. And the Giants may say, all right, cool, y'all both took tackles, I'm taking one too. They got 2 top 10 picks through the Giants. The assumption is one of those 2 picks is going to be a tackle. If not a tackle, then it's a corner or a safety or an edge rusher. But I could see a scenario in which 3 tackles go. I think right now the thought process is 2, but I could see 3, to your point. I definitely see 3 edge rushers going in the top 10. I don't think a fourth will land there, but I do see 3. The 1 safety, and I don't know if there'll be a receiver taken in the top 10. I don't know if there will be a receiver taken in the top 10 or not. Because to me, there's 2 corners going in the top 10. 1 going in the top 10 for sure, maybe a second. I think I would replace the 1 receiver with 1 corner, to be honest. Thank you for the super chat, 16 Devil Doc. Johnny 68740. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey Louie, what's up, Johnny?" He says, "Guess what? Danny Johnson is back." I told you guys last week 2 guys that I wanted back, and they were dangling out there, and I said it would make a ton of sense to bring those dudes back. One was Danny Johnson, because I told you we need a nickel bad, and I was really impressed with Danny Johnson when he got an opportunity to play in the nickel last year. I was impressed. And not only does Danny Johnson give you nickel experience and value, he also can help on special teams. He's one of our core special teamers, and he can also offer you punt return ability if need be in a pinch. So there's a lot of value with Danny Johnson. I felt like they wanted him back. I thought that was a good move. And I also said Cornelius Lucas is a guy that I would bring back if I were Washington. If he doesn't get money out there, and clearly he's not getting any money out there, I thought he would have been signed by now, which tells me that that market for a guy like him dried up. So why not bring him back? He's to me as important a piece on that offensive line as any we have, because a tackle's going to get injured. It's rare that you have both of your tackles stay healthy for all 17 games. A tackle will get injured at some point. Your swing tackle is just as important as your starters. If your swing tackle stinks, you're in trouble, because one of your starters is probably going to go down for a 2-4 week stretch, and you're going to need that swing tackle to step in. And if he stinks, you're in trouble. Cornelius Lucas has proven he doesn't stink. So that's another guy that I think they want back. They should want back, and that they should bring back if it makes sense for all parties involved. So I'm glad to hear that Danny Johnson is in fact back. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Big Money Sonny writes, "I put the game on the radio and hang with the mob." But you don't watch it on TV? Even if you put it on the radio, you don't watch it on TV? I know there's some of you that are at the games, and you might listen to the radio while you're watching the game. You may not be able to see it, but I mean, if you're at the game, you see what the hell's happening. But maybe you want the radio on. Yeah, the radio was just never a thing for me, so it's not going to impact me. But for some of you, in the case of Big Money Sonny, and there's probably others of you out there that listen to the radio, then it is a big deal. For me, it doesn't even register a blip on the radar for me. I'm not a radio guy, so doesn't even move the needle for me. That 980 and 106.7, 106.7, the Fan, aren't affiliated with the team, and 980 won't be the flagship program of the team and station of the team, and host the games, the pregame, any of that stuff. That doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever. All right, so that is the last super chat. We'll take a couple of comments, hashtags. Let's see what Big O Titan says. "I just knew LTN was going to drop a pod. No excuses for your boy Tua. No excuses unless the offensive line stinks. There's still a built-in excuse for Tua. At least I'll be making one for him. The offensive line has to get their shit together. If they're not any good offensively, the first place I'm looking is not quarterback, but rather the offensive line, because no quarterback can produce at a high. We saw Patrick Mahomes reduce to single digits in the Super Bowl when his offensive line was compromised. No quarterback, I don't give a shit how good you are, can function behind a dysfunctional offensive line. It just, you can't do it. Can't do it. So Tua is not good enough to overcome and circumvent poor offensive line play. We saw that last year. So I'm that's still the excuse that I'm gonna hold, is that they got to get that offensive line together before we start blaming Tua. HTTR for life writes, Tua has an amazing surrounding cast, but is it enough in a competitive AFC to make the playoffs? So much young talent in the AFC. He has a great supporting cast. I thought their supporting cast was excellent last year. Remember, I kept saying you won't find a better group of receivers in the league than the Dolphins. They're right there with Waddle and Will Fuller and Devontae Parker and Preston Williams and Jakeem Grant before he was traded. Going into the season, I don't know if there was a better group of receivers top to bottom than the Dolphins could put on the field. They just were never healthy. And, Will Fuller had the suspension, then he was hurt. Preston Williams got hurt. They traded Jakeem Grant, and they really never fully maximized what that offense could have been because the offensive line stunk. So, yeah, he's got a great supporting cast. I thought he had one last year. And Mike Gesicki as well. Don't forget about him being a top-tier tight end. The issue isn't the skill positions in Miami, and it hasn't been, other than running back. I thought they have really done themselves a great disservice with not investing in the running back position. Well, they did that this offseason. Okay, so now the focus shifts to the offensive line. They've spent resources, even though I think they wasted their money on Connor Williams. They did go out and get Teron Armstead. They can still invest in the draft if they so choose. The real focus now shifts to, if we can protect, then Tua has to get it done. But offensive line is the first priority, if you ask me. So we'll see what happens. Kevin the PRF writes, Dolphins continue the tradition of overpaying for the most overrated position in sports. Paying a steep price for a speedy receiver in a deep draft with speedy receivers is baffling. I've made this point already, though. But none of those receivers are Tyreek Hill. Okay, so let's get one thing straight. You can have a draft full of speedy receivers. Those speedy receivers aren't Tyreek Hill. Now, again, if you don't protect, doesn't matter what the name of the receiver is or how fast he is, if your offensive line isn't good or your quarterback isn't good enough to get Tyreek Hill the football, or any of those speedy receivers in the draft for that matter, doesn't matter. So, again, it starts up front with the offensive line, then it goes to Tua, but the weapons are there. And if I'm making the point for the Dolphins of why they made this move, the Chiefs got 5 picks. The Chiefs would give up those 5 picks in a heartbeat to get Tyreek Hill back. It's the reason the Dolphins gave up the 5 picks without even hesitation to get Tyreek Hill, knowing that they could have spent their own first-round pick that they got from the Dolphins, because they don't have their own first-round pick. They gave that up to Philadelphia. But they got one in, the trade with 49ers, and they got a first-round pick. They could have spent that on a receiver themselves. You heard somebody earlier say, I think it was Mark, who said the Chiefs are reported to be interested in Sky Moore. The Dolphins could have got Sky Moore in the draft at 26. I believe that's where that pick is. They could have got Sky Moore themselves, or 29. I think that pick's actually 29. 49ers made it to the NFC Championship. They could have got Sky Moore at 29. I think he'll be there at 29. I don't see why he wouldn't be there at 29. They could have got him himself. They don't want Sky Moore. They don't want Chris Olave. Okay? They don't want Garrett Wilson. They don't want the kid from Baylor that ran the blazing fast 40 times. They want Tyreek Hill because there's only one of those. Got another super chat. This is from my guy, Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat, Big Money Sonny, who writes, hold on a second, Big Money Sonny. I got another super chat. This one is from Johnny, 68740. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Johnny, who writes, Lou, what is DeAndre Carter's status? Free agent or no? As far as I'm concerned, yeah. Now, I'm not sure if they signed him to a 2-year deal last year, or if they signed him. Most times when a guy like DeAndre Carter gets signed, it's usually a 1-year deal. A little 1-year prove it deal. You come in, you might be making veteran minimum, with incentives in there that could push it up to, over $1 million and some change. But I can't envision. Let's check. I don't know, but I can surely find out for you what DeAndre Carter's status is right now. Yeah, he's a free agent. Again, usually it's usually when you see a guy like DeAndre Carter get signed like he did, it's a 1-year deal, and that's exactly what it was. So I don't know what he is going to do, and if there's a market out there for him. But in my mind, no one values him quite like we do for what he did for us last year. I assume he'll be back. But again, you've got, I think, 6 spots at receiver on the roster potentially. You've already got 5 receivers on the roster. We've talked about this already. You've got Terry McLaurin, you got Curtis Samuel, you've got Cam Sims, you got De'Ami Brown, and you have Dax Milne already on the roster. So that's 5 guys right there. So, or is that 6? Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Cam Sims, De'Ami Brown, and Dax Milne. No, that's 5. So you got 5 guys on the roster already. We keep talking about drafting a receiver. It's not a foregone conclusion that that's going to happen, but it looks more and more likely that they're going to draft the receiver at some point, even if it's not at 11. It looks like they're going to grab a receiver at some point. If that is in fact the case, and you bring back DeAndre Carter, that's 7 dudes. Now, Dax Milne isn't guaranteed anything. DeAndre Carter can beat him out and be your slot receiver, return man, all that good stuff. And you need guys on the practice squad that you can elevate, that can, help you in a pinch. But it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, because if you take DeAndre Carter off our roster, we do not have a kick returner or a punt returner. So clearly, he's valuable to us. I assume he'll be back. That's just my assumption. I could be wrong. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, to clarify, I live in California. Oh, that explains a lot. I have to stop doing that. I just assume everybody lives on the East Coast. All Washington fans live in the DMV area, and you've got access to the game and everything that comes with it. No, these fans are all over the place. And you're right. I shouldn't have done that. And he says, I do have the ticket, but I listen to it primarily on Sirius XM while hanging with the mob. Plus, I'm usually running errands Sunday morning. Salutes, my brother. And again, as you just mentioned, the time difference is drastically different. So, the game is on at 10 o'clock, usually, because we usually play at 1 p.m. on the East Coast. So it's on at 10 a.m. for you in the morning. And if you're running errands, it's easier to just throw it on the radio. So, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, I totally get it. For me, I'm spoiled. I've always been on the East Coast. I've always had access to the games visually. I've never needed the radio for anything. So I don't value the radio like someone in your position might, that lives outside of the market and doesn't actually get to see the game unless it's a primetime game. So, or it's in your region, they're playing against a team that allows you to see it. It makes a ton of sense, Big Money Sonny. And I thank you for that perspective, because again, I didn't even think about that. DCJ, thank you for the super chat. Seems like it's been a while, DCJ. Good to hear from you. Always good to hear from you. My guy DCJ writes, what's good, Lou? Would you grab Baylor wide receiver with number 11? No, absolutely not. You don't. We learned from John Ross. You don't allow speed to mesmerize you and elevate a guy that didn't prove that he was that guy in college. All right, the Baylor receiver, super fast. He's talented. He's not number 11 talented. He's not first round talented. I don't even think he's second round talented. I think you don't start entertaining drafting him until the third round at the earliest. I think he's truly a day 3 pick, but his speed might push him up, a round or two. But he's not a first round talent, and he's not 11th overall, worthy, clearly. So, no, I wouldn't draft him at that selection. Captain Spartan 04, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Captain Spartan, writes, by the way, my draft crush this year is Sky Moore. I think he's a lot of people's draft crush. I remember talking about Sky Moore during my combine coverage and saying I was trying to sneak him into the third round because at the time, Washington still had a third round pick. We had not yet traded for Carson Wentz. And thus, I was like, man, I'd love to use my third round pick on Sky Moore. He lit up the combine, and clearly he wasn't going to be around in the third round. I was like, well, shit, we might have to use our second round pick. I don't think he would have been there at 42. We've moved back since the Carson Wentz trade to 47. He's definitely not going to be there at 47. His stock is continuing to rise, and to the point where we're having a conversation about him back into the first round now. Back into the first round. The Chiefs could take him at 29 with that pick they acquired from the Dolphins, who got it from San Francisco. So he's one of my draft crushes as well. And he's moving up draft boards very rapidly. All right. Let's take a couple more. We'll take 2 or 3 more hashtags, and then we'll wrap up the show with garbage time. Let's see. Rich says, the speed in Miami is ridiculous. Don't forget Jakeem Grant, too fast MF right there. Jakeem Grant isn't in Miami anymore. He got traded to Chicago last year, Rich. And then I think he just signed with somebody else in free agency. So Jakeem Grant's been gone from Miami. He says, and they got Gesicki, I believe, with a nice defense. They could be scary fast. Let's see. Rich also says, even before this trade, I had the Chiefs being last in their division. Just makes me think that more. I never had the Chiefs being last in the division. I still don't think they're last in that division. But I don't think they're clearly the team to chase anymore in that division. Let's see. Rich says the Chiefs were already lacking at the receiver position with no real number 2. Now they have no real number 1. And for now, no real number 2. So they had a number 2. They went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster. So they had a number 2 receiver, which is what they were missing. And then Mecole Hardman goes back to his properly slotted area of number 3. And then you had, of course, Travis Kelce. And then you would start to put those running backs in there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and if they decide to bring back Jerick McKinnon, then those guys come into play. So they were going to be fine if Tyreek Hill was back in the mix, but that changes everything now, clearly. Anyway, Sindeko writes, Lou, tell me the good, the bad, the ugly about this Matt Ioannidis guy we just signed. Is he just another guy or what? So it depends on what guy you're getting, what Matt Ioannidis you're getting, okay? If you get the Matt Ioannidis that we saw in Washington from 2017 through 2020, 2019, 2017 through 2019. You get that Matt Ioannidis, you're going to get a wrecker inside next to Derek Brown, and with guys coming off the edge that you've drafted like Brian Burns and the kid from Penn State, Yutor Gross-Matos. He'll dominate because he'll get one-on-one matchups. And as a pass rusher, he'll be a delight for you if you get that guy that we got prior to the injury that he sustained in 2020. He sustained I think it was a biceps injury. It might have been a pec or bicep. I think it was a bicep injury, and missed pretty much the entire season. He came back last year, was not the same player, was pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. He went from a guy that was trending towards being an upper, 8-9 sack a year guy, borderline chasing after double digits, but no worse than 6 sacks a year. He was trending in that direction to an afterthought last year. He was non-existent. He was invisible. And it could have been just the first year off of the injury. He also had COVID, and he dealt with that. Maybe there were a lot of extenuating circumstances as to why he wasn't dominant last year. But and then the snap total may have come down. They played Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen a little bit more, but no excuses. He was fresh, and when he was in there, he didn't make a difference. So if you're getting that guy that we got last year, he's a jag, just another guy. If you're getting the guy that we got prior to the injury, he's a beast. He's a load to deal with. Inside, he can collapse pockets. He can win with quickness as a pass rusher, and he will add tremendous value to your defense. So it's just a matter of which one you're getting. All right. And the numbers, when you look at his numbers throughout his career, they coincide with that. His numbers, they went up every single year in the sack category, but he was also pretty solid and stout against the run. And then he got injured in 2020, and he was non-existent in 2021. So it's just all about what you're getting. He's a hell of a football player if you get the guy that we got pre-injury. So good luck. I love Matt Ioannidis, and you will too if he shows up and gives you the guy that he was pre-injury. You'll love him. If not, he'll be just another guy. All right, so let's transition to our final segment of the show, and that is, of course, garbage time. And I just wanted to say this real quick. So, I was thinking about this the other day because, and I don't know why, this Brady, news of him not retiring, unretiring, happened, a couple of weeks ago. It feels like now, may have been last week, but whatever the case may be, this is how Tom Brady wasn't retiring. And I never truly 100% thought he was retiring. All the Bucs fans were like, "Oh my God, I didn't think he was coming back. This is such a shock. We're so excited." I'm like, man, shut up. You knew he was coming back. Your head coach pretty much told you we're not slamming the door on Tom Brady returning. Jason Light was like, yeah, Brady's probably coming back. Like, nobody thought he was retiring. But this is how you really knew. When's the last time a guy retired of significance, of his stature, without the tear-jerking press conference where you bring everybody, that's ever been an important player in his life? You bring that guy to the presser, have them sit in the audience. You bring the wife, you bring the GM, you bring the owner, you bring the head coach. They all sit on the stage with that guy, and you put the press conference together, and the guy sits down and he starts to cry, or he tries to fight back tears as he talks about what the game meant to him. And, thanks all the players and coaches and, staff that have helped him throughout his career. When's the last time a guy of Tom Brady's stature didn't get one of those pressers on the way out? Think about it. That's mandatory if he's retiring. If a guy of Tom Brady's stature is retiring, that's mandatory. Luke Kuechly can put out a cool video on socials reflecting on his career. Julian Edelman can do the same thing. Tom Brady doesn't do that. You forget the full Peyton Manning treatment. You get the full Drew Brees treatment. You got to sit down and let everybody know this is it. I'm not coming back. Brady never did that. That's why I didn't think he was done. When he's done, we'll see Giselle. We'll see the kids. We'll see Edelman. We'll see Gronk. We'll see Bruce Arians, Jason Light. All those guys will be on the stage with him. We didn't see that. And I don't think we're going to see that for the next 2 or 3 years. So anyway, that was something that I just was on my chest that I had to release. And I just think of it that way. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Louie T Network podcast. This was fun. Yesterday's episode was fun. This might have been even more fun. I mean, you guys were awesome yesterday, and you brought the energy and the heat even more so today. Greatly do appreciate you guys for all of the support. Another bombshell, another day, another bombshell. What's next? Okay. What else can the NFL do? How can they top this tomorrow? We're supposed to be talking about March Madness. And the March Madness that we're talking about isn't anything having to do with the NCAA tournament. The March Madness resides in the NFL right now. Isn't this crazy? My goodness. Can't wait to see the numbers on that Tyreek Hill deal. What he left the Chiefs for, it better be borderline $30 million. If it's anything less than 27, I'm going to be pretty pissed off if I'm the Chiefs. And I don't think they were going to match that anyway. So, I mean, I think the Chiefs, the highest they probably would, and I can't speak on anybody's coin, and I don't like to speak on anybody else's coin, but I think the highest the Chiefs could have possibly gone was probably like 23, 24 million. You know, I can't see them, pushing 25, 26, 27, which is clearly what he was after, closer to 30. So we'll see what those numbers look like. My goodness. Tyreek Hill traded. I take a nap and I wake up to that nonsense. I can't even take a nap in peace anymore. What is the NFL world coming to? I don't know. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. You know what to do. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. Until next time, you guys take care. God bless, and good night. I will see you guys. If you're a Washington fan, I'll see you tomorrow for the Command Post Live. Podcast-wise, we'll see each other on Friday, more likely than not. And if something else crazy happens tomorrow, maybe we'll be back for another podcast tomorrow. We'll see. But until then, you guys take it easy. Have a good one. LouieTeeNetwork.